Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shapir Suleiman. Wednesday, the 6th of July, is the deadline for the arrival of intending pilgrims from Nigeria who intend to participate in the 2022 Hajj exercise. According to a publication in Daily Trust, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia had extended the landing permits of flights into the kingdom from Nigeria by 48 hours. Despite the extension, thousands of intended pilgrims might miss this year's Hajj exercise as various issues, including non-remittance of funds, difficulty accessing forex, among others, hinder the exercise. The 2022 Hajj exercise is the first which will allow multitudes of intending pilgrims from around the world to perform Hajj following restrictions in 2020 and 2021 due to COVID-19 pandemic. Around 43,000 slots were allocated to Nigeria this year by the Saudi authority. This is against the usual around 93,000, 100,000 that the country used to get. Joining us to discuss these issues, we have in the studio, we'll be having Farouk Shuaibu, who is a Hajj correspondent of the Daily Trust. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll also be joined by two personalities. One from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, right now in Mecca performing the Hajj exercise, talking about Sharif Al-Hassan, yes, is joining us all the way from Mecca to give us perspectives and updates with regards to the exercise. Sharif, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tumala Shafir.
I hope there is not much, the usual sunny situation in Mecca. How is the temperature at the moment?
Well, at the moment, it's close to 35 because it's almost evening time here. All the pilgrims, intended pilgrims who are in Mecca are probably in the Grand Mosque, all trying to observe the Maghrib prayer. So it's almost evening time here, Mala Shafir.
We'll get back to you for more. Also joining us for this discussion is Yusuf Yakubu, who is the Executive Secretary, Kaduna Pilgrims Welfare Board. He will also be joining us to share his perspectives. But before we commence the discussions proper, we'll take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's still Daily Politics, and today we're focusing on the 2022 Hajj exercise. Recall this year's exercise is coming amidst a number of challenges, ranging from the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the rise in exchange rate, and a number of challenges. So we'll be discussing all of this on the platform this evening. And now going straight to Sharif Al-Hassan, who is currently performing the Hajj exercise. Sharif, can you share your experience? Right now you happen to be among the low-key people that happen to be in Mecca performing this year's Hajj exercise. Tell us a little bit of your experience.
You just made it clear that I'm one of the locals persons who was elected from Nigeria to come down to the Holy Land to perform this Hajj exercise. Well, being lucky, I will have to say Alhamdulillah, though not the first time I've come into the Holy Land to perform the annual pilgrimage. But this year's case is just too different because if you take a look at the exercise right from the airlift to the operations in general is a total ball game entirely compared to what was obtainable before. The COVID-19 came to, and it has, of course, disrupted the Hajj operations for close to nearly 2 years. And there are quite a number of rules which is quite unknown to the Hajj. Even if you are coming to this year's Hajj exercise, a lot of things have changed. The Saudi authorities have changed quite a number of rules. And of course, if you take a look at the airlift entirely itself, you could see that there are quite a number of issues. Like you made mention in your during your introduction, that there are still thousands of Nigerians intended pilgrims who are yet to touch down the Kingdom of Arabia, of course, due to some obvious reasons, operational issues, the start for forex, and of course, other things that is involved in the whole Hajj exercise. So by and large, there are quite a number of differences between this year's Hajj and previous Hajj exercise, Malish Shafiq.
Yes, it appears, a global challenge. It's perhaps beyond Nigeria. We talk about the COVID disruptions. We also talk about,
Exactly.
the situation globally in terms of the economy. As we speak,
Exactly.
I think there are only two countries that are sort of, exempted, so to speak, because they are well grounded with the Hajj exercise.
Yeah.
So how is the situation like with other countries? We know that there is, an embargo, 2 years embargo from 2020, 2021, and now, there's accumulation, if you like, of intended pilgrims from across the world. How is this changing the dynamics in Hajj exercise in Saudi Arabia right now?
Well, it has really changed the dynamics because, like you mentioned, that there are other countries who have also struggled to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, 2 years without the pilgrimage has really affected most countries in trying to enlist their pilgrims down here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But by and large, I think the most affected of the countries actually that are currently feeling the brunt of these 2 years lockdown without coming to the pilgrimage is now we are saying we have thousands of Nigerian intended pilgrims who are yet to come down to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, despite the extension made by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia between Nakon and them. And if you by and large, if you take a look at other countries, most of them were able to reach up to the deadline. They've been able to make proper arrangements for them to convey their intended pilgrims to the Holy Land. Like as I'm speaking to you, there are many of the Nigerian pilgrims before reaching Mecca. So there are quite a number of them. So Nigeria is struggling to make sure that they meet up to the deadline of the 48-hour deadline. It's not only Nigeria, it's not only peculiar to Nigeria. Other countries have also, mostly African countries, have also solicited or are also begging the Saudi authorities to please extend the deadline by 48 hours. And this is basically coming from African countries. But in most of the mostly Arab countries or Asian countries, they have lifted their pilgrims, not just only from their various countries to Medina, but 95 of their pilgrims in Mecca presently as we speak.
Right. Okay. The fact that Nigeria's case is somehow peculiar, looking at the fact that we have a change of regime, at the Hajj Commission. Some say, the 2 day, the 2 years window should have allowed the authorities here to plan effectively. And then looking at the number, the reduction in the number, we used to have around 93,000 thereabout, and here we are with just 43,000. Some say it perhaps should have provided an opportunity to plan effectively. What do you make up with the planning, in respect to the authorities here in Nigeria, and how are they responding to this emergency there in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think to be honest with you, the preparation is a little bit not 100% clear compared to what was expected before. Yes, we understand these are new people on board, but of course they should of course have made proper arrangement because we have 2 years window. You understand? As of this year's Ramadan fasting, a lot of intended pilgrims didn't know that the Hajj of course, is going to take place. Not until the Saudi authorities announced that there's going to be Hajj. Yes, there's going to be Hajj, but what proper arrangement have we made prior to that announcement? So I think that thing that the present regime of the National Hajj Commission, the errors on their own part is that it's telling on the intended pilgrims as we speak. Of course, we have, like we keep telling people, that we have thousands of Nigerian intended pilgrims who are yet to be airlifted. And I'm not sure if the Nigerian government or the National Health Commission can actually meet up to the deadline. Because as we speak, we just have some few hours away to the 42 hours given by the Saudi Arabia as a deadline. On Thursday, all intended pilgrims that are here in Mecca or in Medina will be converging here in Mecca, will be converging in Mina, the 10th city, for the 3 days annual Hajj pilgrimage, where all the rituals of the Hajj is going to take place. So I don't know which magic that all these thousands of Nigerian pilgrims who are yet to be admitted can basically reach out. So I think there is what we call poor preparation or arrangement because the Nigerian Hajj Commission, the present regime, has actually not done well in terms of preparations, in terms of setting up all the modalities, in making sure that they have a huge and free Hajj exercise this year.
Right. Okay. Now, in your interactions with authorities here, I mean the NACON officials, what do you make up with their response? How are they responding to the emergency? The man at the helm of affairs is right now in Mecca, I'm sure. And of course, they've been telling Nigerians that, and the intended pilgrims, that no one will be left, back home. Everyone would have to be airlifted. They've been assuring the pilgrims, the intended pilgrims. Do you see a corresponding commitment in terms of, realizing this objective?
Well, basically, back home, judging by the news reports we're having in Nigeria, especially Kano, Niger State have more than 2,000 pilgrims. And I think the first flight just arrived in Medina just some few days ago. So I actually don't know what magic the Nigerian Hajj Commission will do to make sure that they at least more than line. Of course, Kano State also have similar case. I think last week there were protests in Kano coming from the intended pilgrims. Of course, alleging that they were defrauded, because of course they have a case to make, because when they know that other states have started airlifting their pilgrims, Adamawa State finished airlifting their pilgrims just last week, and Kano State is still struggling to airlift third and fourth flight, and they have almost 2,000 or more than 2,000 intended pilgrims. So of course, the best way the officials will have to do, of course, it's a normal thing in Nigeria. When things happen, we keep encouraging people, we keep you keep telling them to be much more optimistic that things is going to work out. But at the end of the day, we all have a deadline, and that deadline is, of course, the 5th of July, which the 6th of July is also a few hours away. So I actually don't know what magic they will use in terms of making sure that the entire Nigerian pilgrims who are ready to be airlifted in Nigeria will, of course, be airlifted to the Holy Land. So, of course, the official keep promising the intended pilgrims back home in Nigeria that they will be airlifted. If this is going to happen at all.
Okay, Sharif, before we give you a break, let's ask this question. There are issues around accessing VTA, and then issues around accommodation, issues around feeding. What do you make up with, the situation there in Mecca with regards to, how the pilgrims are being treated by the authorities?
Well, I think in the first instance, not even in Mecca, I think when we first arrived in Medina last 2 weeks ago, the second day we arrived, I think Oyo State pilgrims started protesting because they were not given VTA, not until they arrived in Medina, which is not part of the requirement. You should be giving you a basic traveling allowance while in Nigeria before you travel. So there was massive protest in the house where we are accommodated in Medina by Oyo State pilgrims. And even as I'm speaking to you, there are still some pilgrims that are struggling to collect their VTA while in the... It's a basic traveling allowance that is supposed to be given to each and every intended pilgrim that is supposed to be airlifted before you arrive in Medina. So that is such a problem. And I realized that there's a total change yes, of course, there is a change in the leadership of the National Hajj Commission. And what I also discovered is that there are also change in some of the operational staffs. Those that are used to coming for this for the annual Hajj pilgrimage were changed. They were replaced by people, of course, who didn't know, who have no clue of how the Hajj operations used to be. Perhaps due to, of course, Nigerian factor, due to godfatherism, you know this, you know that. So that those that have the proper experience, those that know the technical know-how of handling pilgrims in the Holy Land, many of them were
Oh,
not opportune to make it to this year's Hajj.
okay.
So that also is a factor.
Okay. Thank you, Sharif. We'll be back to you for more. But then let's engage Farouk, who is here in the studio, to also give us some perspective. Farouk, you've been covering the Hajj exercise for years now. For instance, what do you make up with the challenges Nigeria is facing with regards to this year's Hajj exercise, despite the limited number of pilgrims and despite the window for 2 years for us to plan ahead?
Well, I think the lack of a proper preparation come in part from Saudi Arabia and also from Nigeria.
Okay.
Because the NACON had to wait for like 2 months before the commencement of Hajj to announce what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Because they are waiting for what will be the call from Saudi Arabia, because immediately they called, there were new changes to the operations itself.
Yeah.
Because I think they introduced new mode operandi of how Hajj operations are going to be. So that really delayed when the whole thing will commence. Because I could remember the chairman had to travel to Saudi Arabia in order to negotiate with some hotel operators and what have you, so that the Nigerian pilgrims to know what we are going to pay for, things like that. So on the part of NACON itself, when they know that this will start, they should have make proper arrangement on what they are going to do, put to be strict on adherence to when the pilgrims will leave Nigeria. I think maybe there was not much coordination from them to really facilitate a free and hitch-free Hajj operations.
Okay. Now, looking at some of the challenges, there are a number of cancellation of flights, from Nigeria. In total, they're talking about 30 flights, that were cancelled. There are also delayed flights, about 57 or so. Some even going as high as 24 hours. What caused that? Is it from the airliners, from the aircraft operators, or what exactly led to such cancellations?
I think that's one of the undoing of a National Hajj Commission, because they refuse to communicate with the public what really led to these cancellations. Because we know in the country there have been scarcity of jet fuel,
aviation fuel.
Aviation fuel. That might be a factor. So we don't really know what really happened. They really didn't communicate to the public to know who are we to held accountable. Is it going to be NACON? Is it going to be the state pilgrim boards, or is it going to be the airlines? All we are just told is that maybe there was some communication again, because I believe the communication right from time should be between NACON and also the airlines on what are going to be the operation of the Hajj itself. Yeah. So nobody can really pinpoint where the problem starts from.
Right. Okay, we talked about the issues around BTAs, issues around accessing Forex and what have you. These are also critical challenges. The operators, the tour operators, for instance, have been complaining that they don't get access to funds there in Saudi Arabia. Some of them have to go to the parallel market to source for dollar. And perhaps this has also, I don't know how that impacted on the situation.
It's impacted a lot. Because funny enough, I also am also a victim, because my wife was supposed to go this year. They've paid for since 2019 or 2020. And what I was informed was they paid almost like 3 million to go for the Hajj, because it's through a private operator. But at the long run, issues happened. At first, they were told that NACON did not pay the money into the account that they should pay into.
Yeah.
So later they say they paid, but unfortunately, that the private operator already booked flights. So and if they are going to reschedule the flight, they have to pay more for them to go there. So at the long run, they have to cancel the whole thing. So I don't really know, maybe it's the scarcity of a dollar that we're having in the country or what, but I think they should have prepared for this a long while ago. Because they paid, some of them paid, advance before they increased the money. So I don't know where the whole thing starts from. So it's just pathetic.
Okay, it appears, there's not much communication between the Commission and the pilgrims, the intending pilgrims.
Yes, of
And now that we're having an emergency situation, despite all the assurances, about 8,000 intending pilgrims might likely miss the exercise. And then going by the pillars, and of course your investigation, should anyone take serious the assurances given by NACON that no one will be left out?
I don't really think it's possible for them to relieve the pilgrims that are remaining, because the time you're having, it's too short. Because recently, I think about 2-3 hours ago, they just released a statement. The Flynas, which is
one of the
airlines from Saudi, that they promised to bring 3 more aircrafts to add to what they have already, and also that there's another airline. They call it what's it called? Calm Air.
Is it part of the rescue flights they are talking about?
Yes, the rescue plan for in case they are unable to meet up with the whole thing. But I don't really think they'll be able to make it, because for them to use the whole 3 weeks that they started the whole thing, not to be able to fly this amount of pilgrims in beforehand. So I don't really think it's possible for them. Maybe they might be able to at least maybe like 5,000. Probably.
Some will still be left behind.
Some will still be left behind.
But what will be the consequences? Because some people have invested so much in this. There's a lot of, psychological issues around it.
Of course.
So how is the commission going to handle such?
So probably they will communicate, because it's as we always say, the Hajj is the calling of Allah. So which means those that won't be able to make it, they'll have to wait till next year and be given priority list. But that's where the problem lies, because we all hear priority list that it's going to be first come first served purpose basis, that they're going to select the pilgrims. But this thing is not in the hands of NACON itself. It's the state boards that determine who will go and who will not go. So it depends on how maybe they come back after the whole Hajj operations. They come back and sit down to really fashion things out among themselves, to really give priority to these people that didn't go. Because if God says, if Allah spares their life, maybe they will be able to go next day. And maybe those that died, because they've already announced that those that wish to collect their money, they can come from it to come from it. But those that will extend it to next year, we hope they get their doings right next year.
There's also issues around this Hajj saving schemes and what have you. I understand that was the lifeline, if you like, or help some other countries who are stabilized in Hajj operations. The fact that they were able to effectively use that Hajj saving scheme, made them to, be able to cope with the changing dynamics in the dollar and exchange rate and what have you. So, do you how do you assess the situation here in Nigeria with regards to these Hajj saving schemes? The Hajj Commission has been talking about it all this while. It has been pushing for it. It's been advocating for it, and yet it wasn't effective.
Funny enough, what the chairman of NACON said was that the slots will be shared 60-40 this year. That's 60 for the Hajj saving schemes, so 40 for those who have already paid. But unfortunately, if you look at what's played out in Kano, it looks like they've reneged on this. So I believe that will be that's the future of Hajj operations in Nigeria. So if it all depends on, because people really say that Nigeria is not that we are not liking the laws. It's just the implementation that is our problem. If a good accountability can be implemented in doing it, I believe it will be a problem in solving these Hajj operations that we have in Nigeria. Because with Hajj saving schemes, the Hajj they can invest in those money to bring in more money for the Hajj pilgrims themselves, for NACON, the state pilgrims, and also for the country entirely. So it depends on how they really spend the money, if it's effective in what they are doing it, they are putting it into. I believe that will really solve the problem in a long way.
Yes, we'll talk about sanctions, because it shouldn't just go unnoticed or shouldn't go unpunished. Perhaps the Nigerian authorities should take this issue up. Anyone found culpable in it. I understand there were also issues around some people running away with pilgrims' money and so on and so forth. So these are issues that need to be properly accounted for. I don't know how the Nigerian government would respond to this. Perhaps maybe after the exercise. But so far, it looks based on your explanation, the opportunity or the possibility of lifting this remaining 8,000 pilgrims is very slim.
Yes.
So what measure could have been used? Is there any way perhaps the Hajj Commission and the other stakeholders would come up with a kind of contingency arrangement that would mop up this remaining pilgrims?
It's just for them to get their, maybe if they have to, maybe probably they have to call in other airlines to help in the whole operation itself. I think maybe that might be the only hope they have for now. Because as we've seen.
And it also had to do with the schedules, flights into
also.
Saudi Arabia.
Yes, because we are way behind schedule for them to be able to meet up with the 8,000 trains that are remaining.
Quite unfortunate. We have to take a break here. In case you're just joining us, we're looking at 2022 Hajj exercise and, of course, looking at the challenges undermining the operations. And I've been interfacing with Farouk Shuaib, Hajj correspondent with Daily Trust. And right there in Mecca, we've been joined by Sharif Al-Hassan, a correspondent who has been giving us update and perspectives with regards to this year's Hajj exercise. We will take a break. When we return, we'll continue to look at the issues and perhaps the way out of this challenge. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's still Daily Politics, and today we're focusing our searchlight on the 2022 Hajj exercise. We're looking at the challenges, undermining a smooth operation of the stakeholders, especially the National Hajj Commission, talking about NACON and, of course, other operators in the industry. This year's exercise has come with a myriad of problems as a result of, some challenges around global pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the rise in, or the fluctuating exchange rate and so on. And we've been interfacing with Farouk Shuaib, our Hajj correspondent here in the studio, and also Sharif Al-Hassan, a correspondent who is right here, right now in Mecca, performing the Hajj exercise. Sharif, we're back to you now. Sharif, if you're there, we're back. Okay, Sharif. You've had some of the perspectives from Farouk here in the studio, and of course, as one who has been reporting the Hajj operations over the years, and also understanding some of the dynamics and, of course, the challenges here the operators are facing. What do you make up with some of the issues he raised, especially around, the ability of the commission to effectively communicate and to put set in place, contingency arrangement to handle some of these emergencies?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Sharif. Are you there? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, Sharif. I'm sure you've been following what Farouk has been talking about with regards to why the challenges and what ought to have been done. He talked about, lack of effective communication between the commission and the intended programs. He also talked about arrangement and planning, that lack of contingency arrangements to handle these emergencies. What do you make up with that submission?
Well, I think I totally concur with my friend sitting there in the studio. There are, of course, lack of contingency plans in making sure that thousands of Nigerian pilgrims are airlifted from Nigeria to the Holy Land. And of course, between the NACON officials and, of course, to the state executive secretaries of various commissions. And of course, that is, I think, these are some of the key factors that has hindered this year's Hajj operation. And just like what my friend here in the studio was saying, that he does not know or he does not think that all these remaining Nigerian intended pilgrims who are yet to be elected can be elected. I basically concur with that statement, and I actually don't know what magic despite the fact that there are other, of course, I mean, other airlines, just like he made mention of the flyers, and of course, the other airline is just like what he made mention. I don't think, despite they are coming to Nigeria to rescue these intending pilgrims, I'm not sure if they can be able to achieve this at that point. I don't think so. The least they can do is to be able to airlift close to 2 to 3,000 intended pilgrims to the Holy Land.
Mm. So how are the pilgrims now? You know, pilgrims in Saudi Arabia who are performing the exercise. How is the situation with regards to their? I mean, how upbeat are they with regards to the exercise now that it is getting to the peak? You know, in a couple of days we'll be having the the major rites being exercised. What's the situation like with the pilgrims? A number of them have also left their loved ones behind, hoping that they will join them later. What is the conversation around that?
High spirits. One of the major changes in this year's Hajj exercise is that it has also, because there are quite a number of enlightenments going on here in Mecca. For a first timer who happens to have arrived in Mecca, his major intention was always be praying at the Kaaba Mosque. And it's no longer the usual thing in the Kaaba Mosque at the Grand Mosque of Mecca. It's no longer it is no longer what was used to be obtainable before. Before, for those who came for 2019 Hajj exercise, of course, you can use a mufti to for completing the Kaaba. Of course, but in this year's Hajj exercise, there are quite a number of stringent rules which states that a pilgrim in Mecca cannot circumambulate the Grand Mosque unless he is performing Umrah. Or, of course, there are quite a number of pilgrims who are not performing Umrah, but they will have to be forced to wear the Ihram. That's the white garment. So
Yeah.
it's no longer a usual thing, unlike before, that you can use your mufti, you can circumambulate the Kaaba as long as you wish. It's no longer the case now.
Right.
So the Saudi authorities have been able, the Saudi Arabian authorities have been able to introduce new set of rules. So the take-home message in this regard is that our pilgrims in the Holy Land are being enlightened, that they can of course be praying in their usual because the big job is yet to come. In the next few hours, in the next few days, the main Hajj exercise is going to come. And
Yeah.
it's not a child's play for anyone who is coming to Hajj. That's why it is called the Hajj exercise. It is really, really a tough exercise. And the 3 days stay in Mina is not a demon, it's not an easy job.
Right.
So presently ongoing in the Holy Land, even though the pilgrims are in high spirits.
Right. Okay, Sharif. Talking about the protocols, the new protocols. One of the reasons behind the challenge, some say, has to do with the age limit as well. The restriction now. How is this? What is the wisdom behind this restriction? You're there. You're seeing firsthand what is happening. What is the wisdom behind the restriction, and how is it affecting Nigerian pilgrims, for instance?
Well, I think a lot of pilgrims who arrive, back home in Nigeria before the early, there are quite a number of issues that crop up. The age limit, the coronavirus test, and of course, those are the issues that involve the airlift, the business operation entirely. That if you don't have coronavirus test results, you're not going to be, even if you arrive in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you'll be you'll be lifted back to Nigeria if you don't have those requirements. But that's not the case. The entire pilgrims to Nigeria who arrived Medina, the only thing they were asked to show was the yellow card. Apart from the yellow card, they were not asked to show anything, any of their documents, including
The
the
PCR.
coronavirus test that each pilgrim paid almost 30,000 naira for. It was not asked in the airport. And right here in Mecca, it was not asked, including the age limit. Nobody will ask you, no, nobody will even check how old are you. There are quite a number of people who are close to
Okay, okay, Sharif. Yes, we'll get back to you to get your last line. You had some of the issues being raised by Sharif, especially around those restrictions and the changing nature of the protocols. So the age limits that the Nigerian authorities so much harped on is not actually even a serious concern there in Saudi Arabia. You also talked about some of the protocols that have changed. Now, how do you think? I mean, what do you how do you see this changes, impacting on the exercise this year?
Well, it means there won't be much people to perform the whole thing, but I think they're still trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in their country. So probably that's why they put those policies in place. But for them to maybe at the long run become not strict as we expected. So I think maybe they felt there should
be some relaxation. But haven't caused a lot of disruption because if Nigerian authorities took such measures very seriously, and it also limit the number of people going there.
Because even NACON itself, it said that it's tried its best to take along some of the staffs that were 65 above, but they were not successful to able to do that. So it's a bit surprising that over there they were not strict on it.
Okay, I think we have Sharif back. Sharif, if you are back, yes. Okay, you were making a point earlier.
Yes, I think I was making a point about the age limit. Here in Mecca, you could see an old man close to 70, 80 years performing, who has come for this year's Hajj exercise. And there are no questions regarding his age limit. One surprising thing is that the National Health Commission has on the issue of the PCR test of I'm talking about coronavirus. That a pilgrim, an intending pilgrim, will have to be tested before he arrives. Is one of the major requirements. But none of those papers were asked even in the airport, even at the point of entry into the kingdom of. You could see that I don't know whether there is a communication gap or what. But then these are some of the things that has changed.
Okay, Sharif. Sharif. Also, I know about some of the challenges that are usually encountered, in terms of movement within the Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Kingdom, especially movement from Muna, to Arafat and so on. There has been a lot of, over the years, plans have been made, to ensure effective effective transportation, so to speak, between Nigerian authorities and the Saudi authorities to ensure that there is a hitch-free flow of traffic and movement of pilgrims. How is it this year? Has such arrangements been sustained? Or what is likely going to happen with regards to movement of pilgrims from Mina to Arafat?
A number of arrangements have been made. I was, of course, top management of National Health Commission. There are quite a number of arrangements being put in place. First, as you all know, some pilgrims, the Nigerian pilgrims, will start leaving Mecca for Muna on the evening of Thursday at about 11 to 12 p.m. here in Saudi Arabia. And of course, there are quite a number of arrangements being made. This year, they said when pilgrims arrive Muna, a vehicle
will be there to also convey pilgrims to Muzdalifah. I mean, to the tent of Arafat. From Arafat, vehicles will also be arranged to convey pilgrims to Muzdalifah, unlike before where pilgrims will now trek from Muzdalifah to the stoning of the devil, to Jamarat. This time around, the Saudi authorities have changed that rule. And another pilgrims from that same point where they slept in Muzdalifah back to Mina. Then from Mina, vehicles will also be there to also convey pilgrims to Jamarat, where they will go for the second stoning of the devil. So these are the arrangements being put in place by the Saudi authorities. I don't know, of course, you've been to Hajj. Each year, these rules will actually crop up, but obeying them is another thing. But these are the new set of arrangements being made by the Saudi authorities this year.
Right. Okay, we'll get back to you, Sheriff, for your last line. But now we're going to Yusuf Yakubu, the Executive Secretary, Kaduna State Pilgrims Welfare Board. Yusuf, if you are there, let's get to get updates with regards to the airlift of pilgrims from Kaduna. What's the situation like at the moment? Okay, I think Yusuf Yakubu, you need to unmute your audio so that we can get you loud and clear here. Okay, great. We can hear you now. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm saying things are going fine in Kaduna. We have airlifted about 2,382 pilgrims to the Holy Land. We are only left with 115, which we expect, inshallah, will be airlifted today.
Okay. I think we're having some challenges communicating, or rather connecting to Yusuf, the network issues around that. But we hope to get the communication better as we progress. Okay. 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 Okay, we'll get that sorted out. I think there's challenges still with regards to the network connectivity. So back in the studio, we are rounding up perhaps. Let's get to hear, your perspective. What do you think needs to be done, in order to change this narrative? There has been substantial progress over the years in terms of Hajj exercise transformation. A lot of initiatives were on board, transformation and so on. Nigerians were happy. Things are getting better. The era of living pilgrims in Nigeria was almost over, except for this. What do you think needs to be done going forward?
Well, I think they should allow the Hajj service scheme to stay, because recently there have been some controversies on who should be in possession of the money. So I think whatever they decide, they should allow their savings schemes to be to live, so that we can be able to copy what is obtainable in Malaysia and Indonesia, so that we too can have a standardized and regularized Hajj operations, whereby we know who will go this year, who will go next year. So there won't be any form of impunity in the whole process. So this, I believe, is going to help us to be able to have a comfortable and also a hitch-free Hajj operations in Nigeria.
Right. Okay. Talking about the manpower, the issue of personnel. Farouk raised, Sharif raised such issue earlier on, that there are new faces, handling the affairs of the Nahkon, especially in Mecca. A number of them are not familiar with the exercise and so on. Do you see some gap in terms of training or in terms of orientation, and how do you think this can be addressed going forward?
Okay. Probably, as you mentioned, there might not be enough training, but for them to be new faces, that is a reality that has to occur. What if the old people die or they resign or something happen to them? Definitely there will be new people. So it's just for them to be updated, to be trained effectively.
The level of transition has to be seamless.
Has to be seamless. So I believe maybe this year the whole thing just happened at the same time. Probably what if the airlifting was seamless? Why the staffs what's it called, was not that bad like that? So I think the whole thing just happened this year the way it is. So
it is actually okay. It is designed perhaps to happen this way. But we cannot rule out, the issue of complacency or issues of lack of proper planning and so on.
Yeah. So everything has come had a hand in the way the whole thing happened. But I think the Hajj Commission, because I think they are organizing. They want to open an institute, a Hajj Training Institute.
That's right.
So I think maybe if that come on board, maybe we'll be able to solve these issues also. So with time, the year played out the way it did. So maybe we'll count on them to improve their services, because this year was...
okay, lastly, before we let you go, before we go to Sharif, the issue around synergy, effective synergy between Hajj operators and stakeholders. Yusuf is just telling us that Kaduna is almost done with its own airlift. And then here we are with the center battling to cope. So how can we improve the synergy between these stakeholders?
I think, first of all, it's all about communication. Communication should be key in whatever we're doing in life. So NACON should be able to inform us, let us know our strength and our weakness, so that we'll be able to fight or to cope and fight whatever it is that we're going to fight. So they should involve everybody in their doings. It shouldn't be just them, because the way we had some staff that aligned and things like that. So everybody should come on board. Let's brainstorm and look for a way out for these issues that we're having every year out. Because I know every year we used to have problems in bringing back the pilgrims back to Nigeria, but here we started from the airlifting, so we don't really know how after the exercise what will happen again. So
that's quite also fundamental. What happened now should be abated, in the return flights.
Yes.
Okay, let's reach out to Sharif to get his last line. Sharif, if you are there, we're rounding up. What are your thoughts? What do you think needs to be done, to address this challenge that we are facing, with regards to the airlift of pilgrims, with regards to the issues around logistics and issues around, handling of the pilgrims there in Saudi Arabia? What needs to be done in your perspective?
Hello?
Yes, Sharif, I want to get your last line. How do you think we can get it better with all of these challenges that are being witnessed? What are your suggestions? Okay, I think Sharif is having some challenges with the technology there. Okay, so we hope he'll be able to give us his last line, but I understand he's facing challenges. Sharif Al-Hassan has been talking to us from Mecca, right there in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a correspondent who is performing this Hajj exercise. We really appreciate your perspectives, Sharif, and of course your suggestions and updates. Back here in the studio, I've been interfacing with Farouk Shuaib, who is a Hajj correspondent of the Daily Trust. Thank you also for your perspectives on the program.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Right. We hope you continue to engage more with the audience to share your experience and, of course, updates with regards to the exercise. We also hope and wish the pilgrims there in Saudi Arabia and the intended pilgrims back here in Nigeria a successful Hajj operation for those of them that will make it there. And, of course, we hope that, some of the challenges will be addressed promptly and then averted as we said also for the return flights back to Nigeria. We've been also trying to link up with Yusuf Yakubu, the Executive Secretary Kaduna Pilgrims Welfare Board. But for the technology there, we were unable to get more from him. We appreciate his effort also to join us on the platform. On your behalf and the technical crew, my name is Shafiu Suleiman, saying thank you for watching.